Okay, think for a moment about just your day so far. How many decisions have you actually made without even really thinking about it consciously? Could be, the route you took to work, maybe how you instantly reacted to an email.
Or that gut feeling about something new.
Exactly. Our minds are just constantly going off on autopilot, right? And sometimes, well, they lead us down paths we didn't expect.
Uh-huh.
What if you could get a look under the hood, sort of, understand why you think and react and decide the way you do?
And that's pretty much our mission for today. We're diving deep into Daniel Kahneman's work, his Nobel Prize-winning book, Thinking Fast and Slow.
A classic.
Absolutely. And our goal isn't just to, explain his ideas. We want to pull out those really key nuggets, those aha moments that give you a sharper sense of your own mind and, maybe more importantly, help you make better choices, more deliberate ones.
So we've basically taken key excerpts, the core wisdom from this really transformative book.
Yeah, distilled it down.
And what you can expect is, well, you're going to meet the two different systems running the show in your head.
System 1 and System 2.
Right. And uncover some really common mental shortcuts and the clever ways they can actually trip you up.
Oh, definitely.
And then, maybe most importantly, walk away with some practical strategies, things you can actually use to, I guess, outsmart your own brain sometimes, whether it's finances, relationships, whatever. Let's get into it.
Okay, so anyone who's maybe dipped into Kahneman knows about System 1 and System 2, the big distinction he makes.
The fast and the slow thinking.
Exactly. Rapid intuitive thinking versus that slower, more analytical reasoning. But what often doesn't get enough attention, I think, is just how subtly and powerfully System 1 shapes everything, often completely without us realizing
It's
it.
the automatic one, right?
It's our fast, emotional, automatic processor,
Right.
constantly feeding us impressions, feelings, intuitions. I mean, it's brilliant for some things, like recognizing a friend's face instantly or hitting the brakes when a car cuts you off.
Essential stuff.
Totally essential. But it also really prioritizes speed and making a good story, narrative coherence, over being perfectly accurate. It'll literally build a story in your head and make you believe it, even if the facts aren't all there.
Okay, so System 1 is super efficient,
Yeah.
which sounds great, right? Helps us get through the day without analyzing every single tiny thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where it gets really fascinating for me. Kahneman shows us that while it's efficient, System 1 is also where most of our cognitive biases come from. Our illusions, maybe even that feeling of being overly confident sometimes.
Yes, definitely overconfident.
Like it's the reason we might think we're, I don't know, better drivers than average.
Yeah.
Even though statistically that can't be true for everyone.
Right. Or why some idea just feels right, intuitively appealing, even if there's no solid evidence behind it.
It really makes you think, if so much of what we think day to day is kind of automatic, unconscious, how much control do we actually have?
That is the big question, isn't it? And that's where System 2 comes in. The deliberate, effortful part of our thinking.
The slow one.
The slow one. Our conscious, analytical brain. It takes focus. It uses energy. It's what you use for complex calculations or really thinking through a tough problem.
Okay.
Now, Kahneman explains this really well. System 1 is always on, feeding System 2 these impressions, intuitions, maybe intentions.
Like suggestions.
Exactly like suggestions. And System 2, our sort of more rational self, often just accepts them. It endorses these automatic suggestions, usually without much change, simply because engaging System 2 properly takes effort. It's easier to go with the flow.
Wow. It sounds almost unnervingly easy for our minds to just be swayed by these automatic thoughts.
It can be.
Can you maybe walk us through a couple of the most striking biases Kahneman points out? Maybe pick one you find particularly sneaky in everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. One that always gets me is the anchoring effect.
Anchor.
Yeah. This is where our mind just grabs onto the first piece of information. It gets the anchor, even if it's totally irrelevant sometimes.
Right.
And then that anchor pulls all subsequent judgments towards it, disproportionately, even if we consciously know it's irrelevant and try to ignore it.
Like in negotiations, maybe? The first offer?
That's a classic example. But Kahneman cites these wild studies, like where judges were asked to roll dice before sentencing.
Dice. Seriously.
Seriously. If they rolled a high number, they tended to give significantly longer sentences than if they rolled a low number for the exact same hypothetical case description.
Whoa. That's That's disturbing. A random number influencing a major decision like that.
It's wild, isn't it? It shows how powerful that initial, even meaningless anchor can be.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. System 1 sets this baseline, this anchor, and then System 2 struggles to adjust away from it enough.
Precisely.
Okay, another one I found, well, incredibly relatable is loss aversion.
Ah, yes. Very powerful.
The idea that, we hate losing something much more than we like gaining something of the same value. My System 1 is definitely terrified of missing out on a sale price, even if I don't actually need the thing.
Oh, I feel that. Marketing relies heavily on loss aversion. Don't miss out.
Right. And what about the availability heuristic, where we judge something as more likely just because examples pop into our head easily?
Like worrying more about plane crashes than car accidents.
Exactly.
Right.
Just because the plane crashes get huge media coverage, they feel more frequent or more likely, even though statistically driving is far riskier.
Exactly right. And if you kind of connect the dots here, Kahneman shows these aren't just interesting quirks of the mind. They're not just academic ideas.
No, they have real-world impact.
Huge impact. They're like these invisible threads influencing everything. Personal finance, you mentioned holding on to losing stocks too long. That's loss aversion again. Health decisions, how companies hire people, even just our general happiness and well-being. It's not about us being illogical all the time. It's about understanding the built-in patterns, the cognitive architecture we're working with.
The power of context, too, right? Even seemingly irrelevant context shaping our judgments. It's really humbling when you think about it.
It is humbling.
But I think the brilliance of his work isn't just pointing out these flaws, these inherent biases. It's also incredibly practical. It's not saying you're doomed to think badly. It's more about, okay, be aware of this.
Exactly. Awareness is the first step.
So this leads to the big question then.
Wow.
What can we actually do? How can we make our System 2, that slower, deliberate thinking, show up more often, especially when it really counts?
Right. Well, Kahneman's key message here is that, look, you can't just turn off System 1.
Nor would you want to, probably.
Exactly. We need it. It's essential for just getting through life. But we can train ourselves to recognize its common traps, to know when it's likely leading us astray and when we need to deliberately engage System 2.
So it's about cultivating slow thinking.
Precisely. Building in mental speed bumps, you could say, creating space for deliberation, actively questioning those first automatic gut feelings or impressions.
Moving from just accepting thoughts to actually interrogating them a bit.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Active interrogation instead of passive acceptance.
I can tell you, just recognizing this has made a difference for me personally. I used to react so quickly, especially to work emails that felt challenging or annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now I really try to just pause, maybe literally take a breath, or sometimes even just get up and walk away for a minute before I hit send.
That friction, creating that space.
Exactly. That little bit of friction seems to give System 2 a chance to actually chime in, and maybe say, hang on, is that really the best way to respond?
That's a perfect practical application.
And I think for anyone listening, whether you're a student trying to really understand something new, or maybe an investor making big decisions, a leader trying to guide a team, or honestly just trying to navigate daily life and maybe understand the news a bit better, this deep dive really shows how fostering that critical thinking, that reflection, that self-awareness, it can genuinely improve your choices and your outcomes.
So, boiling it down for you, the listener, Kahneman's message is kind of humbling, yes, because our minds are flawed and prone to these biases.
Definitely humble.
But it's also incredibly empowering, because just understanding these flaws gives you real power to compensate for them. The core insight really is knowing System 1 is always on, running the show by default.
Right, the autopilot.
But System 2 needs that deliberate nudge. It needs to be intentionally engaged. The real power comes from learning when to apply that slower, more effortful thinking, and maybe learning how to create the right conditions for it to actually work effectively.
Yeah, and this isn't just, abstract stuff for academics. This is a real practical toolkit.
Absolutely.
Whether you're, say, a content creator trying to figure out what resonates with your audience, or a manager involved in hiring someone.
Big decisions.
Or even just try not to buy stuff you don't need on impulse. This deep dive, I hope, has highlighted how creating those moments for critical thinking, for intentional reflection, for just being more self-aware, it can genuinely transform how you make decisions.
Helping you pause before System 1 just jumps in.
Yeah, helping you question those first impressions proactively.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. If recognizing our automatic biases is that crucial first step, What new habits could you intentionally build into your day, into your routine, to give your deliberate system to a stronger voice, even in small, everyday decisions?
Hmm. Like, what specifically?
Well, it could be something simple, like you mentioned, consciously taking maybe 3 deep breaths before you reply to an email that gets your back up.
Oh,
Or when you form an opinion about something, maybe actively ask yourself, okay, what's another way to look at this? Just force that alternative perspective.
challenge the first thought.
Exactly. Or even, next time you're about to make an impulse buy online or in a store, just stop for a second and ask, okay, wait, is this my system one wanting that instant hit of gratification, or has my system two actually had a chance to weigh the pros and cons here? Little moments of deliberate pause